now instead of in the
chip out the ball.
yeah.
Welcome back to the Bonte Wever Hotel in Assen for the semi-finals of the 2025 Predator Dutch Women's Open, presented by the KNBB. We're down to the final four, and firstly, on table 2, from Germany, Ina Kaplan. And representing the Netherlands, Tamara Rademakers. On to table 1, from Austria, Sandra Baumgartner. And Serbia's Bojana Sadak. Your referees in charge of the action on table 2, Alexander Vulovic of Serbia. And here on table 1, Pentti Seppänen of Finland. Ladies, you may lag for the break.
It's not a lot more than she could have done with that shot. So this tough shot on the 6 is a key shot and the hardest shot you would think in this rack. This is for possibly stealing both breaks of Ina Kaplan if she can manage to pot this 6 ball. Gorgeous shot. And I'll tell you what, that little nudge on the 9 ball actually helped her cause. She's now landed, I believe, perfect on this 7. Doesn't need to do anything with the cue ball, just stop it where the 7 is. And she would have a nice angle on the 8. So the 5 to 6 and the 6 to 7 were absolutely 10 out of 10. Tamara, and I say this with the highest form of respect, I was a bit surprised when I looked up her statistics in the EuroTour. Maybe it's not 100% guaranteed, but I was a bit surprised not to see that she's won one before. So she's had a couple of finals and semifinals, just like she's reached one here. But if the information is 100% reliable on the IBPF website, which I presume it is, she's not won a EuroTour just yet. Such is the pedigree and her illustrious career. I was a bit surprised she's not won a EuroTour, but she could go a long way with the start she's had in this match. And who's to say she's not inspired to do her best achievement so far and go all the way on home soil? I'm sure she'll have the majority of the support behind her back. It was a, well, perfect contact with the 1 ball. And luckily for Tamara, it is a legal break and a great opportunity to extend on that lead. First glance, you would think the positional shot from the 2 to the 3 is the key part of this rack. Must admit, I didn't see that one coming. Maybe she was trying to cheat the pocket ever so slightly, but that nevertheless was an uncharacteristic mistake by Tamara. And this cue ball looks way too slow for me. Yep. So it seems like that little mistake by Tamara won't be punished immediately. Ina still got a chance to either kick this in or get it safe, but one thing is for sure, this is not part of the plan for Ina. Yeah, and she's presented Tamara with a, well, you would almost tend to say unmissable opening shot on the 3 ball here to try and clear the table. It was a tricky positional shot, of course, for Ina, the previous attempt, the previous visit. She'll be a little bit disappointed after having had a unforeseen mistake by Tamara. Be interesting to see whether she can regain her focus. Tamara trying to keep it as simple as possible, trying to avoid any undue risks. This 9 ball isn't 100% guaranteed. But that looks in to me. Yes, it is. So a solid start, even though she had a little glitch earlier on in this third rack. Wasn't punished by Ina Kaplan, so she'll get to break once more, Tamara. Both semi-finals are guided by our match officials, so ladies can just simply focus on executing the shot. Don't need to re-rack the balls or be fussed about any sort of situation where they need a referee. Actually helps to clear the cobwebs if something unforeseen does happen. She just ran into the 4. And you look at the position of the 2 ball, you think that if she missed the 4, it would have been a full ball snooker on a 2. And I can't see the potting angle of the 2. Whether she goes for it is another thing, because you can see the 4 is all the way down the table closest to the cue ball. So if she is going for the attacking option, she needs to pull out a big stroke here. Might have to just settle for a safety. And that's well played. She's covered the 2. I think the single rail escape is on here for Tamara, although she's looking at the side rail. So possible 2 rail escape. So it seems like that safety shot executed to perfection by Ina has forced this mistake. Still needs to take care of the remaining balls at the table for it to actually sting. Well, I'm sure she's delighted the cue ball did not disappear in the middle pocket. That would have been a whole nother scenario. Now, the pot on this 4 is very tricky indeed. It's the question whether Tamara feels it's worth taking a risk. No is the answer. There was a possible bank shot on. Decided against it, and all in all, it's a pretty decent safety. But this shot here, what a lovely little touch displayed there by Ina Kaplan. Quite possibly her best shot of this match so far. That was not easy. So twice in this rack, she's managed to force an error with some strong safety play, and this time around, it's a overran that by a foot. She actually wanted to leave herself a low angle on the 6 instead of high, so might have to run into the 9, send the cue ball up table. Managed to just avoid it, and I think she's done a great job there. Might have to use another rail here to play position on the 8. Oh, she's aiming high, so it's telling me that she, well, no. Sometimes with some of the players, for example, Matthew Stevens is like that. He's aiming a bit higher, and you're thinking, well, he's trying to play either a topspin or a stun shot, but they have this motion when they dig down, when they play a screw shot. That's the case there. I thought aiming, well, center ball or even higher, I was thinking she was going forward, but in fact she was playing the screw shot. That 8 ball dropped, and Ina Kaplan stopping the rod here. Didn't want to go 4-0 down. Still early days, but still a 4-frame gap sometimes can be too much, prove to be too much. 2-frame gap is nothing to worry about. Ina Kaplan looking to produce her first break and run of this match. Some work to be done though here with a cue ball. This opening shot is tricky to play good position on the 2. Might have to go up and down, and there's a lot of balls in the way for the cue ball, so this is a tricky shot coming up. Must admit, I did not see that pathway. As you can clearly see, she tapped the table, which in fact points out that she was a bit lucky there, but nevertheless, she'll take it all right. I always felt like, regardless of the difficulty of the layout, the best and fastest way to get into the rhythm is if you can just clear a rack with perfect cue ball control. It just fuels your confidence. If you can boss around the cue ball and it's doing exactly what you expect it to do, nothing will accelerate your confidence than that. It's all fun if you keep putting the balls, of course. That's another way to work yourself into the groove. But I always felt like with layouts like these, runs like these, when you can just keep it simple and execute the shots, it really helps you to settle down as fast as possible. So a nice break and run there by Ina Kaplan. Yes, she was a bit fortunate on her opening shot from the 1 to the 2, but the rest of it was absolutely perfect. And it's just what the doctor ordered. Still needs to ideally convert her last of the 2 breaks just to draw level. I'm afraid that's not a legal break, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's exactly the case, and I'm sure Ina will be deeply disappointed because it was a very solid contact on the 1, and also done pretty well with a cue ball control, but unfortunately the 3-point rule is in operation. This is a great chance for Tamara to counter, to stop the rod, the little momentum that Ina was building on. Dear me, that was a complete misjudgment. And Ina Kaplan, I'm sure, did not expect to be back at the table so quickly. It's actually one of the facets of the game I feel like doesn't get talked about enough, is whenever you miss and you go back to your chair, can you process the mistake as fast as possible so that the next time you get a chance, just like this scenario where Ina got back to the table much sooner than I'm sure she was expecting, to be ready to take that opportunity rather than, well, still be sulking and still be trying to process the previous mistake, which you see happen a lot of times. And the player gets, that was a fluke as well. She didn't try to hit the 5, but to finish the topic, sometimes the player gets back to the table within 1 or 2 shots, but you can see they're still not 100% ready. And then next thing you know, that they miss that opportunity. It's a facet of the game that, well, is very important indeed. You're not trying to make this combination and also simultaneously controlling the 6 ball. Wants to leave it in the vicinity of the pocket just like that. Perfectly executed. And well, early scare. It looked for all the world that Tamara would stop the rod, but that missed, unforeseen miss on the 3 ball has presented Ina with a great opportunity to draw level, and it's looking like that's a certainty now. just had a short glance at the other table before we resumed in our featured match. The other semi-final available on our YouTube channel. The table number 1 match. Sandra Baumgartner versus Bojana Sarac. Scoreline there is 3-1 in favor of Sandra Baumgartner. The 2-ball here, it's not obvious where you can pot the 2-ball. And yeah, that 3-ball was way too close. I think she's landed horribly wrong here on the 3-ball. Unintentionally hooked herself, and now she needs to make sure she hits the 2. You don't want to give a ball in hand away. You got to remember where the 2-ball was sitting before the shot was, well, very congested, but now that one little safety, not safety actually, the positional shot side of the shot that went wrong has now pretty much solved the problem at the table. Well, tough to say from this camera angle whether she can just get through the putting angle on this 4. If not, maybe an advantageous bank shot. No, not going for the bank. And if she's not covered the putting angle on the 4, which I believe she hasn't, because Ina has just come around to have a look at the putting angle, so this is a chance for Ina to counter. That little nudge on the 7 has just developed a little bit more separation with the cue ball and the 5. This shot here on the 5 is not easy by any means. It was not easy. Tamara from this position needs to decide which side of the 7 she wants to place her cue ball. Keep it simple, or maybe cross the table on the side she is now bridging over. So needs to make up her mind. Going up table. I do believe that was the most sensible shot. Tamara is trying to put this 7 ball in the bottom right corner pocket from this camera angle. Safely in. Although in the previous camera angle, it just felt like she was a bit off straight on this 8 ball, and if that's the case, maybe she is dead straight. Yeah, so she's drawing her cue ball back. She can't get closer to the 9, which is fine. This pot here on the 9 should be a formality for a player of her caliber. But one thing is for sure, still need to cue these shots well. Safely in. And still regains her lead, Tamara. Decent separation after the break, but it was a dry break by Tamara Rademakers there. Ideally, Ina wants to land on the right side of the table, but she is bridging over the side. That's the side of the table she wants to land with a cue ball. Just like this, and if she can leave herself an angle to work with on this 4, which she seems to be done, she should be able to land on the 5 here. Might have to jack up the cue ever so slightly. Nicely navigated. This is, for me, quite possibly the last shot that could go wrong. Playing position onto the 6. Both players seems to be in good stead. And if this is anything to take away from this match, well, we could have a very tight finish indeed. as Ina Kaplan wiggles that 9 ball in. She draws level for the second time in this match. Let's not forget she was 3-0 down at the beginning of this match. Nothing to separate them now. Unfortunately for Ina, dry break and even worse, a nice opening shot here on the 1. When you look at the table, there are no real problems, particularly if Tamara manages to get nicely on the 3 here without pushing the 6 onto the 4, for example. This is a clear-cut chance to counter on Ina's break. Overran that by a foot. I think she can now avoid running into the 8. Might have to use the 8 to put the brakes on this cue ball here. First things first, needs to make sure of the pot, of course. Too many times I've seen it happen where the player is too much focused on the positional side of the shot. Yeah, that's gone wrong. And that's all stemmed from that previous positional shot. Or has it? She might be able to swerve this in, you know. No, it's not there, and although it's far from easy, but it's still a chance for Ina to pot this 5 in the middle pocket. Doesn't have to go for the pot, of course. Could decide to play safe and use the 8 to block the cue ball behind the 9. It was a very solid shot by Ina. Equally solid return by Tamara. Not a lot she could have done there. Be very much so in her interest to leave herself a nice angle on the 7, although, of course, first and foremost had to make the 6. This has landed awkward now. Of course, no need to explain to you that the hit on the knuckle, the point of the pocket, was unintentional. But having done that, she's had very little angle to work with. All things considered, pretty much the best she could have done out of that shot. But now, all of a sudden, this 8 ball, there's a lot of pressure on it, and it's very missable. And then there's that added element of the cue ball going close to the bottom left corner pocket, so that's something she needs to address as well, simultaneously. But what a nice recovery shot there by Tamara. Not home and dry just yet, needs to make sure of this 9 ball, but the recovery shot on the 8 was something to behold. Lovely shot execution there by Tamara Rademakers. And it's looking like Ina Kaplan will take a timeout. That will give her 5 to 6 minutes. I believe it's 6 minutes officially to return to the table. So this is your opportunity to grab a beverage if you want. And we will resume the action shortly. Both ladies have returned after that small little break. Ina could count herself a little bit unfortunate, but the cue ball is finished. Forced to play push out here. Not so sure whether she wanted to leave the cue ball that far off the rail. It's an interesting one. I've seen this shot, which I refer to as the dump shot, when you send the object ball one side of the table and a cue ball the other side. I've seen it being attempted so many times where you just think, surely there are other options available as well. For whatever reason, these players are very confident in taking on that shot. Sometimes, of course, the situation requires you to play that shot. Look at this. Well, what do we think of this? It's not bad, it's not perfect either. It's a pressure pot here on the one. Long shot needs to inject some backspin on the cue ball as well. Problem with the slow drag is always that you, for whatever reason, they always tend to hit it or miss it on the thin side, and basically that's all because you're decelerating rather than accelerating in the cue ball. But that was a very tough shot indeed. That's not as played, but I'm sure she'll be happy enough with this angle on the 3 ball. Doesn't need to do anything with the cue ball, just drop it in and the natural angle will take care of itself. Just needs to focus on the pot. Just a series of stun and easy enough pots here left for Ina. Looking to draw level once again. It's a fascinating game so far. Ina Kaplan drawing level once again. It's the 3rd time she's drawn level. Beginning of the match, she went 3-0 down. Pulled that back to 3-all. Then Tamara pulled away again. And once more, Ina has drawn level. Yet to poke her nose in front, so be interesting to see when and if she can do that, Ina Kaplan. well and truly lost her cue ball there. Hard to see how she can retrieve the situation from this position. Yeah. Tried to hook the cue ball behind the 8, failed to do so, and well, next time she comes back to the table, she should expect to be in a lot of trouble. Although Tamara could have executed that shot a bit better. Not only is she failed to cover 3 ball, I think it is possible in the middle pocket, you know. It's a difficult shot, but it's still possible. And judging by Ina's jacked up cueing, tells me she was going for it. She tried to get the cue ball back, couldn't avoid running into the 5. So unintentionally, she's created a problem here for herself. Needs to make contact with the 4. She could possibly pot it as well, you know. One solid pot here in the top left corner pocket. Well, actually, she's looking at the top right. Matter of preference, I suppose. Judged to perfection. Although a little bit closer on the 5 ball. That would have been perfect. Nevertheless, that was a gorgeous piece of cueing. That's ran awkward now. My cue ball needed to stop a foot earlier for this 7 ball to be absolutely easy. Now it's a pressure pot. Well, I called it a pressure pot. I wasn't expecting Tamara to miss it by that much of a margin. So this is a unexpected chance. It's not an easy shot here for Ina, but she can definitely commit to this pot here. Well, she needs to decide what she wants to do with this. It's looking like she wants to take on the thin cut. It's a tricky little shot, this. The cue ball will be going up table. That's the problem with the shot. When you try to play it like that, you are pretty much guaranteed to leave it on. I'm not saying it was the wrong shot, of course. But as far as Tamara is concerned, that's a very favorable outcome. Once more, Tamara regains her lead. Never been behind in this match so far. After that successful break, this seems like a great opportunity to me. Might have to risk landing on the left side of the table, anywhere near the middle diamond on the left side of the long rail. Oh, she was actually trying to go the other way around. That's the reason I said the left side of the table, because whatever would have happened, she would not have been able to hook herself. Nearly fluked the 9-ball. And she might have just got away with that, actually. Boy, has she got away with that. That's the worst possible outcome for Ina. And, we'll have to find out later on, but how important would that little piece of luck going to prove to be for Tamara, because it well and truly was a mistake. Somehow, she's got this fabulous opportunity to go 7-5 up, and who's to say she will get a couple of chances on Ina's break after this. I'd be very surprised if Tamara fails to clear the table from this visit. Oh my days. Well, you heard her say it. Well, she said it in Dutch, kom op. No, that does not need any translation. Oh my days, Tamara. Wow. I actually said in the same rack how important was that miss going to prove to be, and I wasn't in any shape or form envisioning Tamara to miss such an easy 9 ball. That is very painful. But look, the scoreline is still 6-all, and I suppose it helps that there is a referee at the table, so she can just try her utmost best to put that mistake out of her head. She needs to. There's no point in dwelling on it. She did not miss that 9 ball on purpose, so needs to regain her composure as soon as possible. But if you're Ina Kaplan, you would have been delighted to be presented with that early Christmas present. After having had what seems to be a very successful break, it's still a little bit unfortunate that she's not able to run this rack unless she produces some very inventive bank shot here, which seems likely. I think she's going to play safe, send the 2 ball towards the left side. The cue ball here, she's covered the 2 ball, and I think there's still a 1 railer on, but if not, it's a bit harder to hit. Doesn't want to overhit this. All in all, I think she can be satisfied with that outcome, Tamara. This time around, it's Ina's time to be a bit fortunate. Once again, needs to hit this, Tamara. And that cue ball is not going to disappear in the pocket. And once again, that's a solid hit, and more importantly, she's not left Ina with a pot on the 2 ball. Yeah, from this camera angle, you can clearly see she can get through to this potting angle on the 2. It's a long, straight shot on the 2. Might have to draw the cue ball back a foot at the very best. This requires some great shooting. What a lovely shot that is by Tamara. Delightful piece of cueing, must be said. Needs to capitalize now. It seems like she's landed a little bit too straight to go closer towards the 6, so she might have to settle with a mid-range distance on the 6 ball. But where the 7 ball is sitting, that shouldn't be too difficult to resolve. Dear me, once again, she's missed a shot which feels like it's come out of completely nowhere. You can see her in a chair, absolutely fuming with herself. And, well, if you've not been following this match from the beginning, this 9-ball would mean that it's the first time since the beginning of the match that Ina will be in front. And what a moment towards the finishing end part of the game. And, well, Tamara back-to-back unforced errors on fairly straightforward shots. She needs to do some serious work between the ears now in her chair, because it's do or die from this point on forwards. She can't let that affect her concentration, even though it's very tough indeed. She's well and truly still part of this match. It's far from being over. But one thing is for certain, she should have been in front, way ahead actually. But that just seems to be the situation right now. Ina, on the other hand, of course, dying to apply a bit more pressure now on Tamara and put herself on the hill. Risky shot here from the 3 to the 4. No clear path away available to her. You can see how close the cue ball got to the top right corner pocket. And this is not too bad. If you're Tamara, that could have been a lot worse. That's a mistake by Ina. Failed to do something useful from that position. Although this is not a straightforward pot, it still presents Tamara with a better opportunity put her opponent in some trouble. I can say for certain that Ina can definitely see the right side of the 3-ball. Don't know whether she can get through to the putting angle from this position. Ina desperately willing the cue ball on to go a bit further past the 7. This, however, is potable. Tamara seems to have lost her way ever so slightly ever since those two unforeseen errors. She is, of course, only human as well. And I'm pretty certain that Ina attempted the attacking shot there on the 3-ball. Considering where the cue ball has landed, she can really consider herself lucky. Tamara forced to take out her jump cue. These long jumps are not easy. Ina's got a shot here available to her to the left middle pocket. What might have to settle for the 4-5 combination. But that 9-ball will be in her way too short. And if she can just see the edge of the 4-ball, she could consider herself a little bit fortunate or unfortunate, whichever way you want to look at it. It is a hook, but if Tamara can control which side of the 4-ball she can hit it with the cue ball, she could return the compliment to Ina, because that if she can send the 4-ball past the 7, this is the result. I don't think the escape from the left side is on, so relying a little bit on some luck here, Ina. She's well and truly in trouble. That safety escape by Tamara was excellent, but I'm afraid to speak because I believe this is a great opportunity to draw a level, but considering what's been going on in the previous 2 racks, we just have to wait and see how she will deal with the 4 remaining shots. Might have to cross twice across. long rail for the 8 ball in the same corner pocket as the 7. Seems to be the obvious pathway. In doing so, the scratch in the right middle pocket is a possibility. So that's something she needs to address in this positional side of the shot. Yeah, that's landed awkward. Well, both of the possible pots here on the 8 ball are far from easy. It's looking like she'll... Oh, she's going for the cutback. A cutback into a blind pocket. Never easy, these type of shots. That being said, it is the type of shot that occurs frequently in straight pool, so Tamara, being a very all-round player, is probably one of the reasons she took on that shot. This 9 ball is a lot harder than one of the previous 9 balls she stuck up in the same corner pocket. Oh, and the same thing happens again. Oh boy. It's a brutal game, Pool. It's a brutal game. History repeats itself. Tamara was well and truly in command of this game, and now, like I said in the previous rack, for the first time ever in this match, Kaplan goes in front. And the worst thing from the point of view from Tamara is because she was helped by Tamara to get into this position. So Tamara, back to break twice, needs to convert both of the breaks to keep this match alive. And if you've just, well, the cue ball is gone, the cue ball is in. If you've just joined us, welcome. Tamara Rademakers, home soil favorite, was all the way in front in this match. And then, after being 6-5 up, she had a very straightforward shot on the 9 ball in the bottom left corner pocket. Hit the jaws, left it over the hole, and ever since, she's made a couple of unforced errors. And, well, one thing is for certain, she's a bit flustered at the moment. And could that scratch on the break prove to be her last shot of this year's Predator EuroTour Championship, the Dutch Open? It would be a bitter defeat, particularly because she was in control all the way throughout this match. And when you look at Ina Kaplan, her body language does express someone who is very confident at the table. And when you look at the layout, it's hard to see this go wrong. And that's going to be a very painful defeat indeed for Tamara, who also is the last remaining Dutch female player in the field. So these 2 balls for Ina, for what can be considered another impressive victory, In the previous round, she beat Wendy Jans, and this 9 for the win to book her place in the final. So that's it. You can clearly see these two ladies have formed a good friendship over the years, but it's huge congratulations to Ina Kaplan, not to be this year, for Tamara Rademakers, as we will await the opponent of Ina Kaplan, who are now live in action on the other featured live stream table, on table number 1. So you can head over to that stream. For now, I'll leave you and we will see you for the final. And just to make sure, the final will start, or is at least scheduled, local time 4:30. One way to guarantee you will not miss the final is to make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification button. It's been a pleasure, and bye for now.